I kept running into the same two problems. So I built something. Now, as a journalist and a former debate show host,
this is Raw Politics.
The trouble is, leaders have got to lead.
I've spent years moderating high-stakes conversations.
I know how you feel about Mr. Bethel, but was it a mistake for Boris Johnson to not appear?
I think that for any visiting head of state to have been treated in that way is a disgrace, regardless whether you're a Brexiteer or a Remainer.
What do you think, Philippe? Was he...
Well, on the one hand, I understand the frustration. On the other hand, he's the legitimate Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. We cannot be seen as worsening the situation because I think it plays in the hands of Mr. Farage.
So do you acknowledge the frustration on this side of the channel?
I do. To some extent, I do. It must be quite confusing dealing with Boris
Johnson. So what
Johnson.
is the state of...
I really disagree on this.
Trying to kill the agricultural sector.
No, come on. I think what we Greens in the European Parliament called for is that we...
Interviewing world leaders.
If Russia doesn't take these seriously, why should Russia be taken seriously when you present your country there?
Hosting live political shows where timing is brutal and clarity is non-negotiable. And I kept running into the same two problems. First, you have experts who have deep knowledge and credibility but struggle to get the message across clearly. And journalists under time pressure who needed trustworthy voices fast and people who were able to talk on television or the radio or give good quotes for print. For our show, Raw Politics, we tried day in, day out under intense time pressure to find the most credible voices on the topic, stakeholders in the story, diverse perspectives, but also people who could speak clearly and engage in constructive dialogue. Now, that is a lot to ask, especially for a daily live political show. And if you think about 24 News Hour formats, it's even harder because you have got to find someone now. So the pool gets very small very quickly, and you end up with the same people on air over and over again. So that's one part of the equation. On the other hand, I've also seen how often credible voices were overlooked. Let me give you an example. So we'd be live on air with someone who has decades of experience, the top authority on a specific topic, the exact person we should be hearing from. And the producers would be in my ear begrudgingly saying, oh, we've got to wrap this up, we've got to cut the interview. Not because they weren't credible, but because the message wasn't landing. We couldn't follow what they were trying to say. They simply didn't know how to communicate that immense depth of knowledge that they had under time pressure. And that's when it became painfully clear to me. It is not just about what you know, but how you communicate it. And that gap between credibility and communication is costing us. And I've seen it off air as well. People with very serious insight and credibility built on decades of experience, they would say, you know what, I'd speak up on this topic, but I just don't trust how I will be quoted. Or I'm not here to self-promote. Or honestly, it's just so cringe. And so they stay silent and we all miss out. And that's why I built